In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the Star Wars The Vintage Collection AT-ST driver. Hi there Star Wars collectors, and welcome to another Bossk Bounty video. As I mentioned in the intro, we're going to be taking a look at the Star Wars The Vintage Collection AT-ST driver. As you can see in front of you here, he is part of the 50th anniversary of Lucasfilm. As you can see, the logo on the top left-hand corner of the card back. Not something that I'm too keen on. I think if you watch my channel, you'll know that I'm not too keen on that. But there's not a lot we can do about it. That's how they are. And let's just take a look at the card back before we crack the figure open. So there he is. Obviously, this is a reissue of a figure that was brought out in the 2-pack of the AT-ST drivers. There was a 2-pack back in 2012, I think it was. Kmart exclusive, I do believe, if I can remember rightly. I will try and find an image and throw it up on the screen. I do have the 2-pack, but it's packed away at the moment because I don't have space to display it. But this is one of my favourite card backs from Return of the Jedi. It's one of those ones where you don't get to see the character, you get to see the vehicle that they drive, very much like the B-Wing pilot. I think the A-Wing pilot back in the vintage Kenner days was the same, so it'll be interesting to see what they do for the A-Wing pilot when they release that in the vintage collection. But also, obviously, the TIE Fighter pilot and the Attack Commander. Similar again, you get to see the vehicle. And I love that shot in Endor Forest there with the AT-ST or Scout Walker, whatever you want to call it. You've got the Kenner logo at the bottom there, of course, the Return of the Jedi racetrack design. Less said about that, as I mentioned, the better. But there he is in his bubble, looking pretty cool. He is VC192 of the Vintage Collection, and there's the other figures that you can get from the 50th anniversary of Lucasfilm, and there you get the Lucasfilm timeline as well. So I've already reviewed Leia and Paploo, so if you haven't checked out those reviews, they'll be on the channel in the playlist. So there you go then, guys. That is the card back for the AT-ST driver. Let's get the figure out and check him out. All right then, so here is the figure out of the packaging, and as I mentioned before, we have had this figure before. He was included in a 2-pack for the Vintage Collection called the Endor AT-ST Crew. And this is just one of those 2 figures. So this one, I do believe, is a repack of the one that's based on Richard Marquand's head sculpt, which is the guy that directed Return of the Jedi. Now, his character was called Marquand, which is basically his surname. And the other guy that came in that 2-pack was Lieutenant Watts, I believe. But I think that this one is based on Marquand, which is pretty cool. There he is there with the helmet on. Looks pretty cool. He does have the insignia on his shoulder and a little thing on his wrist there. And of course he has this strapping, which is one separate piece. Decent looking figure, pretty much definitive. I guessed when they came round to doing the AT-ST driver that they would just repack one of these. He doesn't really need too much doing to him. The one thing I would say is that he has the swivel at the glove, which is something I really hate. I would prefer him to have a hinge in the wrist. That would be nice. He does have swivel hips as well, which isn't a deal breaker either. But okay, you know, those are the 2 things that they could possibly update if they wanted to. But he's out now. We won't be getting him again anytime soon. So this is what we've got for the Vintage Collection. Let's have a look at that head sculpt again. There's the helmet there with the chin strap. Very nice indeed. And there's the head sculpt, looking pretty cool. Decent paint with the photo reel. I think it looks pretty good actually for a photo reel. It doesn't look, you know, some of them look a bit dodge. Bit of overspill on his ear there, which is never good. And again on that ear as well. So the attention to detail sometimes isn't there, which is, you know, the quality control could be better. In terms of articulation, his head's on a ball. If we just take it off, you can just see there. Now, unfortunately, he doesn't really have much motion with that. You can't really do any, you know, side to side or anything like that. Very, very little up and down. Shoulders are on a ball hinge. He has a ball hinged on the elbow. As I mentioned before, he has the swivel at the glove. Torso movement there, lots of movement. Swivel hips, ball hinged knees, and we have the hinge at the ankle, which of course swivels as well. So plenty of articulation. And as I mentioned, when it was time for them to do the AT-ST driver in the Vintage Collection, it was pretty obvious they were going to re-release this guy. I'm not too sure if this was the one that was packed in with the AT-ST in the Black Series 3.75. It may have been the other one, the Lieutenant Watts. But as I mentioned, this is definitely the figure that came in the 2-pack. So there he is, pretty cool. And that concludes the last of the 50th anniversary figures. I've already reviewed Paploo and Princess Leia. So check out those videos. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I think this is a decent enough figure for the vintage collection. It's going to look great on the wall with all the other Return of the Jedi. So thank you very much for watching this video, guys. Drop a like down below if you've enjoyed it, and we shall see you on the next one.